Hello everyone, this is the Familiar Davener number 35, and I'd like to dedicate all the words of Torah I'm about to say to the full recovery of a soldier, a brave soldier, that was fighting in Lebanon and got very seriously wounded. Noam Avraham ben Atara Shlomit betoch Shar Cholei Yisrael. Kelna Refanala, and Be'ezrat Hashem, he should have a full recovery.
או יד אחד על השני על הראש, ולחוץ כולנו יחד, פלגה אחת, כאיש אחד בלב אחד, ונאמר יחד את התפילה.
כנס.
אדוני צבאות אלוהי ישראל יושב הכרובים, אתה ציוויתנו בתורתך לאמור, שמע ישראל אתם קרבים היום למלחמה על אויביכם, אל ירח לבבכם, אל תראו ואל תחפזו ואל תארצו מפניהם, כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם להילחם עם אויביכם ויושיע אתכם, ואלוהים נעשה חיל והוא ירוץ.
One of the scenes that get me very emotional each time I see it is when soldiers stand in a circle right before they go out to battle, and an army chaplain gives them a bracha, reading the words from the book of Devarim, of what a Kohen Mashuach Milchama used to read before they went out to battle. And within that scene, I get very emotional about two things. Number one, the sanctity. We know that God's holy presence rests in an encampment going out to war. And number two, the very fact that one soldier is covering the head of another soldier. I find that to be beautiful, and I get choked up as I am right now just trying to describe it. But the question I have is very simple. What's the whole idea of covering your head when you don't have a hair covering? This can happen not only in that particular scene. You're trying to get a minyan together. There's a nice Jew without a head covering that wants to join the minyan. And he says, I just don't have a kippa. And no one has a hat. No one has anything to give him. So indeed, it's very hard to find a source of hair covering in general for davening. But suffice it to say that the Shulchan Aruch says, V'yesh omrim, and some say that you shouldn't daven with a bare head. So when the Shulchan Aruch says yesh omrim, it usually means there are those that say otherwise. This is one of those rare cases that there is no one else that says otherwise. So what do you do in such a case? There happens to be three different solutions. Solution number one is given by the Shulchan Aruch itself, and that's what we just said. Have someone else cover your head. The Mishnah Berurah explains that your own hand can't be a covering, because a covering, by definition, has to be something that's not part of your body. And therefore, it has to be part of someone else's body, but it can't be part of your body. So you can take a hat, you can take a napkin, but it can't be something part of your body. So solution number one, have someone else cover your head. Solution number two is to take your shirt, to sort of roll it up all the way to the end, sort of put your hand in it and go like this. So now the superfluous part of the shirt is covering your head. The problem with those two solutions is it's very hard to daven for such a long time when you have your hand on someone else's head, or when you have your own hand on your head and ultimately you're doing like this for such a long time. And therefore I believe that in such a case you have to rely on solution number three, and that is the Maharshal. The Maharshal says that the whole source of this is very quasi, and therefore you can use your own hand. So once again, we all come to davening with a kippah. Usually shuls have kippahs. Someone can give a baseball cap or whatever it might be. However, in situations where it's not there, either have someone else cover your head, or roll your sleeve down and let it sort of slit down more than your hand. And finally, if need be, you can rely on the Maharshal and ultimately cover your head with your own hand. Though it's difficult to keep your hand there for the whole time, I happen to think that the first solution of the Shulchan Aruch is the best. It's indeed someone else's hand, namely it's not part of your own body, but more importantly, it's basically saying, I want to speak to God. The only way I can do it is if another Jew helps me. And I believe, especially when you're about to go out to battle, that particular message is so germane. I cannot succeed unless another Jew helps me. I remember one of my first lessons in the Israeli army was on our first Masa. A Masa literally means a hike, but it means to run and with heavy machinery on your back, and it was pretty short. And what ultimately happened was part of us ran very quickly and the others tailed behind. Our commander told us, "What are you doing?" We said, "We're running like you told us." He said, "We're one unit. You're going to get killed if you run alone. Those that bowl alone stay alone. In order to succeed in the battlefield, you have to be together. Now go back and start pulling the ones that are tailing behind." I never forget that lesson, and I believe that's the lesson here. You want to come before God? You need the help of another Jew.
שימו לב לפסוק, מי שמכיר את הפסוק הרגיל, שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד, פה הפסוק נעצר בשמע ישראל, אתם קרבים היום למלחמה לא יפכם. זה נעצר בשמע ישראל, לא ממשיכים הלאה. ולמה? שימו לב, כוחנו באחדותנו. ואומרת על זה המשנה שמפרשת גם את הפסוק הזה. כאשר עם ישראל מאוחד, כאשר הלוחמים בשדה הקרב מאוחדים ומרגישים אחד את השני, אז הניצחון שלהם על האויב מובטח, כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם להילחם עם אויביכם להושיע אתכם. זה הפסוק שבא ואומר לתת את הכוח ללוחמים של עם ישראל שנמצאים בחזית.